All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And welcome all. It is a Monday, January 22nd. I got an email from someone who is a regular listener, viewer, supporter, saying that she'd like us to mention the date on the title of the show and also mention the date when we start the show. Guess she's kind of got an obsession about the date. All right, so sometimes there's not room to put it on the title of the show, which is why it doesn't show up there, but we'll try to be better about that.
I do always put it in the description at the bottom of the
Yes.
Of the show. It's always in there.
It is in the description at the bottom of the show. Description is the date always. Kim puts that in there and the links and everything. So that, of course, is Kim.
Kim, how are you?
And Tony is here also today. So we've got big plans. We'll go over the DeSantis stuff as mentioned and where the race sort of sits. Not much of a race anymore, but we'll still cover it. Big strikes in California. Big moves in Oakland. I've got a story out of Carmel. And the Pope is in the show today. So whenever the Pope's in the show, you got a good show.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Well, he's the good Pope, as good a Pope as you can be.
What?
You gotta, you can only be so good if you're the Pope. And he's trying to bring them into the modern age a little bit. So that's where what the Pope is doing. But let me just say, go Niners.
Uh-huh.
Niners. I'm gonna say Niners. You kind of got away with one, wouldn't you agree with me? I think, yeah. There was more going on in that Niners game than you really wanted. It was a little more interesting than I thought the football weekend was quite eventful. I was in Las Vegas, where I was with my other gambling degenerate friends. We all meet. There are journalists. They're the full range. You know, it's doctors, lawyers, and Native American chiefs type thing. We all watch football. We gamble on football. There's a lot of different gaming going on. You can bet on a lot of different things, as you know, and we did all of that. So I'll just say it didn't go super well for me, but...
Oh, no! Oh!
Yeah, but...
Elma says, hey, a win is a win, even an ugly win, Mark.
An ugly win, we'll take it. And, this is the thing. Sometimes I'll say very good teams, or I'll even use the word great teams. They win ugly, Sometimes it's just a fact if you go back and look. These close games where you go, wow, this is much closer, a closer contest than it should have been. You'll see great or good teams actually prevail in those. And that's, in other words, at the end of it all, it's the greatness of a team that comes out that way. The Mark Thompson Show is now bankrupt, exactly. Boy, thank the fates that I don't need to dip into our show kitty to gamble. I have separate gambling money for that.
I came from the gambling account. That's okay.
Yes, exactly. It's a separate account. I would bet my lunch that alcohol was involved. Daniel Martin says, yes, there was. Yeah, but I don't get fall down drunk. I'm not really. I'm sort of more of a light buzz kind of guy. But I do like my drink, as you well know. But Vegas is interesting. I hadn't been there, I'll be honest with you, as I always am. I hadn't been to Las Vegas since before COVID.
Oh, that's a while.
Exactly. And it used to be that we'd go to Vegas every 6 weeks, something like that. We really, Courtney and I love Las Vegas, and we love the shows, and we do the whole thing. We love the dinners and the gambling, right?
Right.
So, anyway, Mark, I see all of this. Mark lost Kim and Albert's salaries.
Yeah, I know. Things are going to be a little tight this month, honey. All right.
But I'm not on that list, so I'm in.
Yeah, you're okay, Tony. Just be Tony and myself. Doug says, yeah, Mark, I think the refs leaned on the side of San Francisco, home field advantage. Why did you bet against the Niners? I would never bet against. I did not bet against the Niners. I had the Niners.
Did you hang out in the sports book the whole time, or did you play the poker that you like, or what happened?
I didn't play poker because it takes too long, and I wanted to stay with my friends, you know. But I did play. Actually, I have a pretty good story because I was tired the first night. Let me tell you a quick story from Las Vegas. Then I'll get into some of the news.
The Mark Thompson Show.
By the way, I did not tweet. It would be nice if, Tony is out of the tweet business. Yeah,
Lord.
I know you're doing Nikki's show. I got to tweet. If you can tweet, I'll retweet it in a little bit. But for now, I'll tell you this story. So I get into Las Vegas, as I say, I haven't been there in forever. My credit lines that used to be there, I have to, recharge all of them. And I kind of have to meet all the new staff. And, this environment that I was very much a part of is now all new. So I get in, we have a great dinner on Friday night. And then I go back to my hotel and casino, and I'm exhausted, which is pretty much the way I am all the time. But, feeling like, don't get into a gambling thing because then you get adrenaline going and all this stuff. But once I squared away all my money, I thought just, on the way to bed, you can gamble one bit. Okay.
One more time.
Yeah.
One last pull of the slot machine arm.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't know what to play. I didn't want to, again, it was sort of like, and I was 50-50 on whether I should play even. I go to roulette. Roulette's easy. Roulette's a bad bet, probably. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not.
Isn't that supposed to be like the worst odds in the whole place? Right? I think it is.
I mean, why didn't you tell me that before? I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get that word before. Yeah. Anyway, roulette, apparently the worst odds in the casino.
What?
And I step up. You'd think as much gambling as I do, I'd know that. I really don't play roulette much. It's fun. I remember my mom, we took her to Las Vegas many years ago, my mom and dad. And my mom, who doesn't want to get, she grew up in the Depression, okay? My mother, they had no money. She had two jobs. I mean, this person, my mother, is a great story, but and a story shared by many, I might add. But anyway, meaning, a lot of people had that same experience. But she doesn't want to gamble, is the reason I mentioned it. So we push her to roulette. And I remember, who was at that table with my mom gambling? No. Steve Harvey.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Girl, you just
Yeah, that's right. It was Steve Harvey. And he was wearing a big kind of bowler hat. And he was very nice.
Well, welcome to Family Feud, everybody. I'm your man, Steve Harvey.
He had that Steve Harvey energy about him. Yeah. He had that Steve Harvey energy. But I will say this, my mother, a total newbie, didn't really even understand how to work. I thought it was so basic. You just put the bet down red, black on the numbers you want. Anyway, she started to win. And I think she won $600 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, remarkable. But she didn't enjoy it. So why, anyway.
Yeah.
So I was at roulette. I think that last time I remember a long roulette session was with my mother and Steve Harvey. So anyway, back to this. I'm about to go to sleep. I go to the roulette table. And I'm going to give you the honest truth about the money. Okay, I don't want, I always tell you the truth on this show. I tell you the truth about what's happening on the show. I tell you the truth about where we are financially. I always tell you the truth. And I will tell you the truth about this. So I got $1,000, okay? So I said, I'm not saying it's all going to be bet here right now, but I have $1,000. That's my budget right here at this moment. So I take $100, and I actually wrote this down because I thought it was so amazing what happened. I put $100 on red. So all the roulette wheel has to do is end up a red number. The numbers are all red and black, right? And there's
and if that happens, how much do you win if it lands on red?
Just even money. So if you put $25 out there, they'll give you another $25. You put $100 up, they'll give you another $100. if you bet the inside numbers, like if you bet on number 5 and 5 comes up,
Right.
it pays 35 to 1. So
Okay.
if you put $100 out there, they'll give you $3,500.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. It's
Doesn't
hard.
happen. Yeah.
So I put 100 on red because it's a 50-50 kind of bet. Pretty much there's 0, 00 on the wheel as well. And it's my only bet. He spins the wheel. It's a guy there with the wheel and a ball. It lands black. I lose. I put another $100 on red, and it rolls black. I put another $100 on red, and it rolls black.
What?
I put another 100 on red, and it rolls 00.
What does that mean?
Well, there's a 0 and 00 on the roulette table. Do you
Yeah,
have a
green,
picture of the roulette
essentially.
table?
Does that mean it's not red or black?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. There's a 0, 00.
This happened to me.
So again, I put 100 on red, it rolls black. I put another 100 on red, it rolls black. I put another 100 on red, it rolls black. I put another 100 on red, it rolls 00.
So how many hundreds are we down? 400 now?
Exactly. I mean, there you go. It's
All
quite
right.
we're on really a streak.
Just go to bed. At this point, just walk upstairs. Stop it.
I put 200 on red now, thinking
What?
it's
What
got to
are you
roll red.
thinking?
And it rolls black.
Oh, God.
I asked the guy there, the spinner, I said, should I start betting on black? It seems as though it's running on black and it's not running red. And he said, no. He said, go with your gut.
Oh, God.
I put 200 on red. I'm down to the end, right? And I bet $25 on 27 and 30 red. I just like those numbers.
Okay. Now we all know your passwords for everything.
Yeah, 27, my age.
Yeah.
And then 30, I just think is a cool number.
Yeah.
He rolls, and it hits 27.
Oh.
And I cash out, and I go to bed a winner, everybody. I'm a
right.
winner, I'm a winner, I'm a winner.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. How much did you win?
$300. How about that?
Wait. Only
300 and change.
That's it?
No, I mean, I won a bunch of. I won a bunch. My point is, I was all the way down to what, 200. I won it all back plus $300.
Plus 300. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So yeah. So in other words, I cashed out with $1,315. So there you have it.
I also have a gambling story to tell you.
Oh,
I was at a casino in Tahoe as part of a morning show promotion where we were doing this thing on the radio, how to teach people how to play craps. I brought my little, I know, it was when you think about it, maybe didn't really work for radio.
did
but
you
we
all
went
bring
with
your
it.
rent money? Here's how we play.
Yeah. So we go to Tahoe. We're at a casino. I think we were at Harrah's. And I had my sister with me. My sister's super cute, blonde, hot girl. So I'm sitting at a slot machine, at a $1 slot machine where every pull is like $3. And it was in the days in the 90s where you actually still had the coins. So you would put in 3 coins and pull the thing. But sometimes back in those days, it would glitch a little bit and you would pull the arm and there'd be like something caught on something and one of the coins would drop out the bottom.
Oh,
Okay. So I put in 3 coins, I pull the arm, and only 1 coin registered as being counted.
oh,
And
that's weird.
Up on the screen, wild. I won the big jackpot,
Wow.
but only one of the coins counted. So instead of getting the
That's brutal.
$10,000, I got the nothing. Right?
That's a super bad beat. That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Right.
Don't play slots unless you've totally put in all the money. But go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
I did. I had tried to, but it was such a fast.
No, I know.
thing.
No, I know.
Because my sister is the hot girl that she is.
Oh,
The
yeah.
security guard at Harrah's was standing
Yeah.
right behind me, chatting her up.
No, I love it.
Hey, you want to go have a drink later, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah.
He saw me put the 3 in, and he saw what happened, and he leans over and goes, I'm going to check the tape. I saw you put on all the coins.
Wow.
Money is yours.
Kim, how are you?
That is awesome.
So I got the money and I bought a 1995 convertible red Mustang with the winning.
Oh my God, that's a much better story. I love that.
Thank you very much.
Wow, look at you, Kim.
Yeah.
With all of your, you know, you read conservative, but you're not. You're crazy, decadent.
That's right.
Gambler waiting to get out.
It might be the first and last time I ever won anything, but that's
That's
okay.
just terrific. I
That's
love
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to mention a couple of people who responded to gambling stories. First, Lori, she's one of our super active participants, but she doesn't like anything that goes on for any length of time. She's actually the perfect audience member in the sense that she is like a kid. You know, she really wants everything quickly. The never-ending story.
She likes to keep it. She wants to keep us rolling.
The shorts are good for Laura. You should just watch our shorts then. You know, everything's 60 seconds, and, you know, the rest of it is. Mark, why didn't you hit him with your iron rod? Says Queen.
That's true.
Time for Gamblers Anonymous, says Phineas. Yeah. And on the Niners game, Debbie says, and thank you for the super chat.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Debbie for a 10 spot. She's my husband. Said the Niners game was 58 minutes of high anxiety and 2 minutes of sheer terror. Well said. Yeah, it was brutal. And to Kelly Malloy, always supporting us. Thank you for $1.
Big shout out.
You can throw us something in the super chat or cha-ching, says Ron Cook. Or the super stickers, or you can become part of our Patreon community. You know, Patreon and PayPal are always there for you. TheMarkThompsonShow.com. And there are live links.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
Yeah, I will get to Trump. I do have actually some Trump news, a lot of DeSantis news, and then other news as well. So let's get it done.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to get to California, which I will in a moment. You know what? I may start in California, if you don't mind, before I get to DeSantis, because there are big strikes going on. Thousands of professors and lecturers and other academic staff members walking off the job. This is a protest that will likely cancel most of the classes today. They're going to strike for 5 days at all the Cal State schools, right?
Right when the classes were due to resume after winter break,
This is the California Faculty Association, represents about 29,000 professors, lecturers, librarians, counselors, coaches. It's a 5-day strike, as Kim has said. It'll affect almost 500,000 students who attend the Cal schools. And, you know, that's the largest four-year public university system in the country. Walkouts have begun at all 23 CSU campuses. I mean, this is a trend in labor, right? Very strong labor year this past year. Large-scale strikes, the Hollywood actors, the writers, the auto workers, and now education walkouts are becoming more common. The LA school employees staged a huge walkout last March. Oakland, as you know, teachers went on strike there for nearly 2 weeks. So it's not as common for university faculty to go on strike. It's been done. I mean, they had a big strike at Rutgers University back east. But this is what they feel is very low starting pay, and they want a bump. Specifically, the union wants to increase the salary floor for full-time employees from $54,000, a little over $54,000, to a little over $64,000. They also want caps on class sizes and expansion of paid parental leave. So these are common themes through a lot of various labor disputes and movement in the last year or so, a couple of years, really. I mean, what you're hearing, of course, the union is getting back, and we don't have the money. So they had a trial strike. Do you remember the one-day strike that they did?
Yep.
This is now the 5-day strike. So there are a lot of warning shots here, and this is sort of where we are. But if you're in the Cal State system, faculty is on strike. It is a walkout.
I'm afraid they're going to use this to get students to pay more, to have another increase in fees and tuitions, and people can't afford to do that right now. So I don't know.
Al Anonymous says, I don't blame the faculty. As a student a decade ago, I paid tuition, but was given less priority for seats in classes to foreign students that paid more. Couldn't get prereqs offered once a year. Yeah, I don't know your specific situation. I don't know if foreign students, it's possible they gave, priority to those who paid more. Very possible. I mean, I don't know. But I do think that there's a lot of competition for prereq classes generally at the university level. It can be a real problem. By the way, we'll put aside a couple of these Vegas stories. Some of them are coming in. State profs have a great gig. Sucks for the students. What was the other one? I'm sorry. There was another comment up there that I thought was good. You just had it. I don't know. Anyway, that's super low pay, says Becky, considering what we all pay for. They should get a bigger piece of that pie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the point. I think that maybe dovetails with Becky's. Gail asks, why are the tuitions so high then? Right. There's a tremendous amount of money that goes into the university systems. Why isn't there more money for those faculty members? My son is at Cal Poly. He has enough assignments for a week, as long as it doesn't go past that, says Lulu. He said a lot of profs are going private. Private institutions, I might add, they're incredibly, hair is all crazy. I'll get it.
It's an all-night gambling hair.
Yeah, it looks like I've been, let me tell you.
Why don't you have another cocktail?
Give me another drink and another 1,000, goddammit. No, the private universities have insane endowments. Look at the endowments for, the schools that the Harvards, the Yales of the world, but look at them for any of these private universities. The cost of education is scam-ish. And here it is. It's a money scam, says Queen. Much of the tuition that you pay, I think, is truly into that scam. Calvin, the shadow producer of this show, university presidents at each college get free houses. Why? Make them pay their own way. Well, it's part of their compensation package. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Cal State and UC students being packed in 5 to a dorm. Yeah, right. That's true too. Part of the expense is room and board. So again, these are all elements that play out in different ways depending on whether or not you're a California resident and all the rest. But the increasing privatization of these institutions in one form or another, in other words, making you pay for various elements in the educational process, that has really evolved to a much darker place and a much more expensive place now. So, I know that people make fun, I think, occasionally of community college. I think community college is a great choice. I think community college, there is some great education that you can get there, some great preparation you can get there, some great teaching going on. I think the academics, if you actually look at what's happening at community college, which is just so much more accessible for people, I think it can be a really great choice. So anyway, that's what's happening in the Cal system.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Oakland has lost another one. In-N-Out is out. Yeah. Oakland's only In-N-Out restaurant is closing its doors because of crime. According to statement by the franchise, regular car break-ins, property damage, theft, and armed robbery. There it is. This location remains a busy and profitable one for the company, but our top priority must be the safety and well-being of our customers and associates. We cannot ask them to visit or work in an unsafe environment. That's from
Is
Denny
nothing
Warren.
sacred? Not even In-N-Out is sacred in Oakland. Nothing is sacred.
Yeah, the thing about In-N-Out is you want to just get in and then you're coming out. And yet, look at that smash and grab. Despite the location closing, the restaurant is going to continue their charities in Oakland, conducted by the In-N-Out Burger and Slave to Nothing foundations. In-N-Out has operating restaurants in Alameda, San Leandro, Union City, San Ramon in the East Bay, many other locations in the Bay Area and beyond. We're a radio show. I'll remind you, we started in the radio in the Bay Area, which is why we do a lot of Bay Area news if you're new. But that's, I think that's a sign of the times, you know. Now, quickly, coming up, we've got our True Crime Corner after Kim's news, but I want to get to some national news before I get to that. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Ron DeSantis has tapped out.
Aww.
Yeah, gonna miss him. This is a real education in how incompetence and overconfidence can destroy you.
Can I get a sayonara, sucker?
Yeah, where is sayonara?
Sayonara, sucker.
There you go. Yeah, Kim's not going to miss him. Yeah. Don't let Donald Trump's boot hit you in the ass on the way out. He is someone who, I'll just remind you, was polling so well at the very beginning. When things started for Ron DeSantis, he looked like the new Trump. A lot of money was going into him. A lot of polling was reflecting his popularity. I mean, now we think of DeSantis as the guy in the white boots who just, is getting, desanctimonious and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But the reality is DeSantis had a lot of momentum going for him. So what happened? He, first of all, a lot of things happened. He hired total neophytes, people who had no idea what they were doing in politics. They waited before they really got the campaign going. He dealt in Florida with that legislative agenda. Do you remember he was doing a couple of things, removing books from school, anti-trans policies, the reproductive rights stuff it's all really intense, all really draconian, and it was designed to curry favor with the right. The problem is you're waiting to get into the presidential campaign. You're busy kind of, building your bona fides in the way that I just mentioned with the right. Like, look at all this stuff that I do, these cultural policies that the woke hate. I'm going to be anti-woke. Well, you're so busy doing that, he never got into the race. By the time he got there, he wasn't showing up. In Iowa, he canvassed the entire state, all 99 counties, and he didn't win one of them. So, in Ron DeSantis, as I say, he had people running his campaign didn't know what they were doing. So, Tony, I think Tony picked up a little bit of the summary of his remarks and the others in the race. So now if you want to consider it, it's a two-person race with Nikki Haley. Go ahead, Tony.
That a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suspending his campaign yesterday, throwing his support behind former President Trump and taking a parting shot at former GOP rival Nikki Haley.
We can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
That's the sound of a two-person race.
Yet on the campaign trail, both Haley and Trump wish DeSantis well.
I'd like to take time to congratulate Ron DeSantis.
And they continue to trade barbs.
The majority of Americans disapprove of Trump and Biden.
She's unelectable.
Haley even questioned Trump's mental fitness after he appeared to confuse her with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi while discussing January 6th.
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people.
I wasn't even anywhere near the Capitol. The reality is he was confused.
With just one day until the nation's first primary election, multiple polls are still showing Donald Trump with a double-digit lead.
I hope that Trump wins. I believe he will.
More or less rooting for Nikki Haley at the moment, just because I want Trump to lose.
Meanwhile, Democrats are organizing a write-in campaign for President Biden, since his name will not appear on the ballot.
So joining me now to discuss all...
Yeah, no, it's very... I like that because at least you hear the remarks from everybody in the race. I mean, Trump does appear to be kind of losing his sense of what's. I don't think he's, I don't think he's fall over dementia ridden
Oh
or
no! If you hear what he said, he kept saying her name over and over again. It wasn't like where you misspeak but you catch yourself, or you say the wrong name and you move on. He said it 3 times: Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, and then he goes on and he says her name a 4th time. And I'm thinking to myself at this point, should we give him back the cognitive test? Man, woman, whatever.
Camera, yeah.
And then. See, thank you for you're cognitively wonderful. And then right after I'm thinking this, the next story I see is Nikki Haley thinks Trump might need a cognitive test. Yes, he does.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He's definitely. I'll tell you what Trump has. He has, as I've told you, that je ne sais quoi charisma. He really does have that, and nobody else has it. Nobody has it. So. In a country and a species, I think it's true of humanity, that is increasingly drawn to figures that just have that, like a dynamic of charisma to them, he does well. It's really, I was thinking about this over the weekend, even as I was reading about DeSantis and Haley and where they all stood. The high school elections that we used to have for president, they really just are much bigger, full of money when it comes to the U.S. Think about who runs. Think about who's in the conversation. Think about what they say and all the promises they make. It really is high school. It's just that there's so much at stake. It's sad that we rally around these personalities instead of policy. But anyway, that's the latest on Ron DeSanctimonious.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now, what are we doing here, Tony? Do I have time for a quick turbo news from Kim, and then our true crime corner? Or
Kim, how are you?
Where is what happens here? I also have, or can I? What do you think, Kim?
I think we have Courtney because she's got a busy day ahead of her. Let's do Courtney and then do some news.
Is that okay with you, Tony?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so
thanks, Tony.
So the deal is we'll do our true crime corner, then we'll do the news in expanded form after that, and Karen Dawn, the bottom of the next hour, with a word about animals. Smash the like button like a boss
with your iron rod.
Hit it hard. We'll do. I've got a. So I'll do a little sweeper, and then we'll get into True Crime Corner. Are you ready, Courtney? I'm not rushing you. Okay.
No. Is Courtney ready?
She's ready, but we'll hit a little sweeper, and you can tell everybody how to become a Patreon member, or something like that, and then we'll get going. Cool. Right. See, we live out loud on this show. All right, Mark. Mark Townsend Show. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great, baby.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters.
No context will suffice to explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to all who have been hurt.
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
God bless America. The end.
There's never been anything like this.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong?
Who is having that conversation?
It's fantastic.
That's not fake. That's real.
The science is ridiculous.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
There is no defense for my conduct. It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Don't ever use that word.
You get nothing.
it's a guilty pleasure you have.
Seriously, what the
What up, everybody? It is our big Monday show. If you're joining us from wherever, thank you. Hit the thumbs up button or support us in whatever way. Many of you are podcast listeners. Appreciate that as well. On Mondays, we try to ride the back of an American trend, which is an obsession with true crime. This is True Crime Corner.
Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
It is I've been favored by the fates. It's my good fortune to actually live with someone who is obsessed with true crime, even as I could give a rat's about it. And she brings it to life for us here on this show, but she is camera shy, which is why you only just see the still picture of her. She's Courtney, everybody.
Hi.
Courtney, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice to have the place to myself.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because you could have the place to yourself a lot more if you'd like it. Because I had a great time. No, it was very nice. I'll tell you something that Courtney did, and then I do want to hear about the true crime.
Yeah.
But last night, she came and picked me up at the airport, which is
true.
I consider that. And in fact, I don't think we've normally.
No.
I will always take a ride, the car. Like
Yeah.
I'll take a cab, I'll take a car, whatever, an Uber. I will always a Lyft.
But when you've lost that much money.
Yeah, honey, I literally don't have any money.
Yeah, I've
to pay for anything.
I've got to drive out and pick you up.
All right, so let's camera shy. No, she's making it so nobody. What is this, Eric? Where are you?
I don't want any. Yeah, I don't want any photographic evidence.
That's what Eric Kennedy's saying.
Exactly.
Camera shy? No, she's making it so nobody recognizes her when Mark goes mysteriously missing. Well played.
It's true.
Well, without any further delay.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So, Tony, when you post this video, you'll get rid of all this, right? Is that how we work? All this stuff about being picked up at the airport?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'll see what I feel like.
Thanks, Tony.
How much effort I want to do.
You're really here for true crime is the point. Okay.
Exactly.
Now, what do you have for us today?
I have a case that is actually a little bit old, but last week the police released footage of a woman being arrested at the airport. And this was a really big case.
Oh, so it's not old. It's just happened.
Well, but she was just arrested last week. This happened in 2014.
Okay.
And so this is Donna Adelson, and she was arrested November 13th at the Miami airport for having a one-way ticket to Vietnam with her husband. And when your son is given a life sentence 5 days before that, when you try to escape the country to Vietnam, which has no extradition, you're going to be arrested by the FBI. And in fact, that's what happened. She was arrested at the FBI.
This is the mother of someone who was convicted of.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know this isn't appropriate, but I sometimes will say things that are not appropriate. I think she's kind of cute for older lady who's off somebody or might have been involved in offing someone.
Yeah, she. Well, then you're gonna like her daughter, Wendy. Yeah,
I'm rooting for her. Okay, what happens in the story?
So Wendy Adelson is the daughter of Donna Adelson, and Wendy Adelson was married to a man that was killed in a hire for kill plot.
Kill for hire.
Kill for hire. That was arranged by Wendy's brother, Donna's son, Charlie.
So that's Wendy right there?
So that's Wendy,
She's
and that's
very
Dan.
Cute. Big smiles on both of them. They look both a very cute couple.
They're a very cute couple. They're both attorneys. Dan went to Harvard, and after Harvard, clerked for a judge, and then went on to be a professor at FSU. And he and Wendy moved to Tallahassee after he was hired by FSU. They had 2 young boys. And Wendy's family is actually from Miami. So she lived a little bit north of her family, but they are very tight-knit. Can you go up, Tony, to the picture of the family? Yeah. So this is Harvey. He's a dentist. That's his wife, Donna, who you saw at the back of the cop car. She was a teacher and a homemaker. Their eldest son, Robert, he's on the far left. He's a doctor, but he moved very far away from the family in Florida. And then there's Charlie, and the youngest is Wendy.
Well, they all look cute.
They're all very tight-knit. They're all part of the Adelson Foundation, which is a dental practice. That's, again, as I mentioned, in Miami.
Right.
And so Wendy marries Dan. They have 2 cute kids. She is working at FSU. They've offered her a position to sort of court Dan to be there as a professor. They have 2 young kids. And Wendy's growing more and more sort of disgruntled in the marriage. She actually writes a short story about a woman who's married to an attorney that has 2 kids that's plotting to kill her husband. So she gives the story to Dan. Dan sort of thumbs through the story but doesn't really read it. If he had read the story, he might have seen what was coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
She essentially gave him the story that was to be his own fate.
Yeah. And she writes this story, which, was not that great. And she becomes more and more disgruntled in the marriage. And so she ends up filing for divorce. But she does it when he's on a business trip. So he's away, he comes home, and she has moved the 2 boys out of the house. She's moved their stuff out of the house, and she's left on their bed in the primary suite her divorce papers. And so now she's living separately of Dan with their 2 kids.
Okay, so she's getting a divorce. Why was she involved in any kind of murder for hire?
Custody issues.
I see.
It was acrimonious, as they say.
Acrimonious.
Actually,
that's a dang word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Her parents offer Dan $1 million. Her family offers Dan $1 million to let Wendy move to Miami from Tallahassee with the boys.
Wow.
Would you take $1 million?
I'd take $500,000.
You would just
One of the kids I'm not that fond of anyway. Go ahead and take them.
You would just take the moving costs.
Yeah. Sounds great.
So Dan says no to $1 million in this custody battle. And so that's when this plot starts. So Charlie.
So this was really about custody.
This was about custody and about an acrimonious divorce. So if you go down, Tony, I think there's a layout of all of the people, involved. So the ringleader is Charlie. Charlie is a dentist. He has taken over his father's dental practice. He buys out his dad in Miami, as I mentioned. So I say this because they're all very close. They're working and living together and running the Adelson Foundation. And so Charlie approaches his girlfriend. She's on the right, if you're watching. That's Catherine. Okay. And Catherine, her baby daddy, former boyfriend, is Sigfredo Garcia. He's on the far right. Yep. And so
Catherine, I'm sorry, and she was married to...
Catherine was dating Charlie.
Okay.
And
dating Charlie, yeah.
And so Charlie approaches her on Halloween of 2013, and he says, "Do you know anybody that could harm someone else?" And she says, "Actually, I do."
Wow.
And so Catherine knows Sigfredo Garcia, and Sigfredo Garcia is the father of her kids. And Sigfredo Garcia and his friend Luis Rivera are hired to murder Dan Markle through Catherine. And it's interesting because when Catherine's on the stand, she says, well, nobody knew who the other people were. I was the middle person because they didn't get along. And so even when they're dating and exes, they're not getting along. But now they don't even realize that each of these people that don't get along, Charlie and Sigfredo, they've been hired to sort of help each other. They're in it together. And so Sigfredo and Luis rent a silver Prius in Miami, and they drive to Tallahassee. And they're following Dan Markle. And on the morning of July 18th, 2014, so what is that, like 7 months after the first conversation, they murdered Dan Markle in his driveway. And so this is Dan Markel's house.
They shot him, or what did they do?
They shot him. You can see it on the left. And it's important, on the right-hand side is Dan Markel's neighbor. So, right. So, Sigfredo and Luis follow Dan Markel home after he runs errands and goes to the gym in the morning. They pull into his driveway. They go to the driver's side window, and they shoot him twice in the head. They get in their car. They back up very fast, and they drive away.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who sees all of this is their neighbor, James Geiger. And so James, here he is. That's his view of the driveway. He sees them pull in, and he sees these guys pull out very quickly from Dan's driveway and drive away. So he goes over to see if Dan is okay. He actually goes over twice, and the second time he finds Dan shot in the car.
Wow.
Yes. So police come, Dan passes away, and all of the family is pulled into the police station. But nothing happens for several years. They don't have a suspect. They don't know who did this. And then they begin
It's so interesting. Divorced couple.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't put together a motive for it right away?
Put together a motive. But
Wow.
they start to suspect the family, so they get warrants. And they start to listen into phone conversation. And that's, in fact, when all of this comes tumbling down.
Wow.
In addition to that, Catherine, who has made a total of $15,000 from the Adelson Foundation in her employment prior to the murder, has now made $45,000 after the murder.
This is, I'm sorry, who?
This is Catherine, the girlfriend, who set it all up.
That lady, okay.
Mm-hmm. So she's made $45,000 since the murder. She's also had a breast enhancement, as one does. And so there's some suspicion that she's being paid off through the family's dentistry practice in her efforts to have Dan Markel murdered.
Yeah, for having done so.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So Sigfredo is arrested. Luis Rivera is arrested
Because
and
as
Catherine is arrested.
law enforcement began to listen to conversations, they thought, "Oh my God!"
And
this
all the
is-
payoff,
even
and
years,
everything.
even a couple of years later. Wow,
yes.
that's interesting. And the money, they followed
and
the money. Okay.
So, yes, so they all go to trial. Catherine originally has a mistrial. She says she was not involved. She eventually confesses to the murder. She's given life. So she confesses to her participation in setting up the murder. Luis turns. He confesses to the murder. He turns on his friend, Sigfredo. Sigfredo still says he's not involved, but they all are given life. They all are found guilty for their participation. And then it's not until 2022 that Charlie, the mastermind of it all, he is arrested. And he, in fact, goes to trial in October of this past year. He's found guilty November 6th. And as we remember, his mom tries to board a plane to Vietnam on November 13th of last year. Charlie's given a life sentence on December 12th of last year.
Wow.
So, Donna will go to trial for this.
Why? Help me. The mother's involvement in this, though? I see Charlie was the mastermind. What was the mother's involvement?
The mother was coordinating things with Charlie. It's in fact suggested that she came up with the entire idea.
Because
of
she
hiring
wanted
the
time with
hitman.
her grandchildren?
Yeah, she wanted time with her grandchildren. She was frustrated with how Dan and Wendy's relationship and divorce was going.
I see.
Yeah, so she was in fact participating. And it was also said that she was sort of urging it along. She was creating urgency in the hiring of these hitmen. And there's, as
There
I
she is in
mentioned,
her prison outfit.
Yeah, that's her in the back of the car, and that's her in her prison outfit.
Wow. She almost made it out. Huh?
She did.
So she was on her way to the airport.
She's
One-way
at the
ticket to
airport.
Vietnam. She's at the airport.
on her way to. I don't know why you just book a one-way ticket to Vietnam and think you're going to get away with that. Also, you've had 10 years. The idea that you choose the week that your son gets convicted to make the flight out of the country with your husband.
Not well planned.
Not well planned. None of this is well planned.
Yeah.
Dan Markel's parents, the grandparents of the two boys, have a very hard time. Here they are. That's Ruth and Phil. They have a very hard time getting access to the young boys after the murder. Wendy is holding them very tight, making it virtually impossible for the grandparents to see the young boys. So there's actually something called the Markle Act, which is looking for being passed in the legislature, which allows grandparents better access in certain court cases. Yeah, so that's the Markle Act. I actually think that Wendy looks a little bit like Elizabeth from
she
Theranos,
does look like
Elizabeth
Holmes. Yes.
She looks
if you're
a little
watching
bit
on
like
YouTube,
her.
we have a picture of the both of them up.
Yeah. I could, for the whole time, this whole weekend, I was listening to podcasts and watching videos and sort of reorienting myself to this story, which I knew from years ago. And I kept thinking, like, who does she look like? It is Elizabeth Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos. In my mind, they look somewhat similar. Yeah. So, but that's the story. So we'll have to see what happens with Donna Adelson.
Go back to the grandparents for a minute, because I think if you take the glasses off of Grandpa, he's got a Leslie Nielsen look to him. Doesn't he?
Yeah,
does the kind of Leslie Nielsen hair and look?
He does. We're casting the movie already.
Yes, I like it. I like it. There's a lot going on.
Elizabeth Holmes has a job when she gets out of prison.
It's pretty brutal, though.
Yeah,
Imagine.
it's awful.
Wow.
I know.
And all those people, they need to find a new dentist during that time, right? He's,
Actually, when I was driving around waiting to pick you up last night, they had an interview with one of the patients of Charlie Adelson, the mastermind, the son. Yeah. And he was like, I read in the news his involvement and sort of the finding guilty of Catherine, his girlfriend. But he's a good dentist. Yeah. So I still kept my appointment. And he was interviewed on one of these podcast series. There was a lot of coverage of this when this was happening.
That's really wild.
Yeah, but it's all sort of come back up in the last couple of months because of Donna's arrest and Charlie being found guilty and given the life sentence.
So Wendy knew nothing about all of this, asks Donald.
No, I mean, it's very bizarre that Wendy has not been arrested, but I don't know if they have enough incriminating evidence to tie her to what was happening. But yes, she actually, there's a joke, and I use
Wendy,
that term.
again, to remind everybody, she's the wife.
She's the wife.
So after the divorce, all of this was done in service of, her kids, moving away down to the grandparents. Go ahead.
So the day of the murder, which is July 18th, the police bring in Wendy Adelson to the police station to interview about the death of her husband that's just happened, Dan Markle. And she says in that interview, which was like 6 hours, my brother kept making this joke about how he bought me a TV as a divorce present because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman. That joke, and I use that term loosely, as I mentioned, is something that Charlie Adelson, remember her brother, the dental practice, that he had been saying to a lot of people. I mean, definitely Wendy knew what was happening, definitely Donna, definitely Harvey, and Charlie, arranged it all. So the family was in on it. I just don't know if there's enough evidence to incriminate the father, Harvey, and the sister, the wife, our ex-wife, Wendy.
You only have so much. Kathleen Bryant says, no wonder the older son got away from the family.
I know.
Yeah.
He took off.
Wow.
Florida and a crazy family. I mean, you need more incentive to leave.
Wow. That's wild.
That is the story. So more to come, and hopefully all of them are, found guilty for their participation in what was the hiring for kill of Dan Markle. So
that's True Crime Corner for today.
Mm-hmm.
True Crime Corner, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
And a special thanks to Courtney. You have another airport run to make, maybe? I don't know if you've got other clients besides
I'm happy to drive you back. You could just plan a trip when you get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Without any further delay, we're going to move on. It was very nice to see you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That's Courtney, everybody. Yeah. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim, are you ready? Kim has somebody wake Kim.
Where? Put me back in. I'm here. I'm ready.
Oh, all right. So Kim's
Always
news,
ready.
and then
Kim, how are you?
I have a big second hour, actually. Looking forward to it. The Pope is in the second hour. Navy SEALs in the second hour. The coronavirus pandemic. There are newly released documents that will astound you in terms of what U.S. government officials knew. And there is something that's going to change, and it's a massive change out of Carmel. You know, we had a lot of Carmel listeners when we were on the radio. Monterey, Carmel, big group of people listened to KGO when we were on the radio from San Francisco. There is something that's very Carmel that is going to change. And it's pretty big time. So we'll get to that as well. Smash the like button like a boss
with
if
your
you would.
iron rod.
Give us a thumbs up from wherever you are and however you are. And we shall continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Let's talk about Dexter Scott King. He is the youngest son of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he has passed away. The King Center confirming in a statement the 62-year-old civil rights activist died today after a battle with prostate cancer. Again, Dexter Scott King has passed away at the age of 62. A day ahead of the New Hampshire primary, former President Trump still enjoys a commanding lead in the polls. He holds a double-digit lead in what's become a one-on-one GOP race with former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. President Biden is not on the official ballot after a party dispute over the date of this primary. President Biden is honoring 2 Navy SEALs who are presumed dead after going missing off the coast of Somalia. One fell into rough waters. The other jumped in to rescue him. This happened during a special mission to seize Iranian missile parts headed to Yemen. President Biden said today the sailors represented the very best of our country, pledging their lives to protect their fellow Americans. The damages trial on former President Trump's New York civil defamation case is now being delayed, and that is due to COVID precautions. It was set to resume today with Trump possibly taking the witness stand. The jury is set to decide how much Trump will have to pay former Elle advice columnist E. Jean Carroll after another court ruled last year that he had repeatedly defamed her after being found liable for sexually abusing Carroll in a Bergdorf Goodman dressing room back in the 1990s. The DA in charge of the Georgia election interference case against former President Trump will not have to testify in a divorce hearing involving a special prosecutor on her team. Today, the judge overseeing the divorce case involving prosecutor Nathan Wade said for now, Fulton County DA Fani Willis does not have to appear. A Georgia Trump co-defendant called for both the prosecutors to be disqualified and for the charges against him dropped. The judge overseeing Trump's case ordered Willis to address accusations by February 2nd, at least in writing. Today is the anniversary, you could say, of Roe v. Wade. And today, there's a lot of people speaking out about what happened to Roe v. Wade, including New York's governor, Kathy Hochul, speaking out on this 51st anniversary of Roe v. Wade. In a statement, Hochul notes a woman's right to make her own reproductive health care decisions was affirmed by the Supreme Court's ruling on this day in 1973, only to have the court strip those rights away in 2022. Hochul says we've seen the devastating impact of Roe's demise ever since, including new abortion bans on the state level, patients being denied emergency medical care, and the loss of access to life-saving medication. Hochul says that New York is standing strong as a safe harbor for abortion care, and she points to the passage of laws to protect patient privacy, the expansion of access to telehealth for reproductive care, and the stockpiling of necessary medication and more. California doing the same things. Jury selection begins in New York today in the trial of two men accused of killing Run DMC's Jam Master Jay. I have a picture of Jam Master Jay, I believe. Yeah, here he is.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming, this case. It's taken years and years and years for justice to prevail here. Here's a picture of Jam Master Jay.
Jam Master Jay. Wow. Handsome guy.
He is.
He was murdered?
And he was murdered. The jury selection starts today in New York in the trial of two men accused of killing him. It has taken prosecutors 2 decades to reach this point. Now, Ronald Washington and Carl Jordan are standing trial. They are charged with gunning down the legendary DJ inside of his Queens recording studio back in 2002. The trial is in federal court in Brooklyn, again, starting today. There's some new recommendations as to how offshore wind must be a part of California's renewable energy plan to meet the state's clean energy goals. This plan, as required by a state law, addresses offshore wind development in the federal waters off the California coast. The state is set to make offshore wind a key part of its clean power portfolio to generate 100% clean electricity by 2045. The California Energy Commission has unveiled a draft of AB 525. The plan reveals assessments and recommendations related to marine resources, deep sea space planning, tribal and fishery relations, permitting, work development, port development, and transmission as well. I don't know if you've been following what's going on at Panera Bread. Couple very serious cases of people drinking this charged lemonade, which has an amazing amount of caffeine in it. Well, now these drinks are at the center of another lawsuit. A woman filed a lawsuit in Delaware Tuesday alleging that she has suffered long-term permanent cardiac issues after drinking charged lemonade. According to the lawsuit, the woman drank 2.5 charged lemonades. So not just one, but 2.5.
That's not fake. That's real.
Okay,
And
well, that's
she
real. All right.
started experiencing symptoms like body shakes, heart palpitations, and shortness of breath. The woman allegedly went to the emergency room and was treated for atrial fibrillation, which the CDC describes as an irregular heartbeat. 2 previous lawsuits blamed charged lemonade for the deaths of a Florida man and a college student as well.
Wow.
That's pure speculation.
Wow.
Well,
I
you've got
mean,
multiple cases now of this stuff doing harm to people because the signage is not apparently listing how much caffeine is in the drink.
wow.
And people drinking more than one, and it's that's bad.
I'll tell you, it's a weird thing. I'm so used to coffee, and as you know, I love that Coachella Valley coffee, and I'll drink a whole pot of it, or I'll have multiple shots of espresso. Doesn't really make my heart race, but I'm getting to a point because over the weekend I'm not in town. I don't have my Coachella Valley coffee, so I'm just ordering from room service. And they bring it up, and I love my coffee, so I just keep and I do feel the heart race, and I'm thinking, wow, it's got to be the coffee, and I guess there's probably different amounts of caffeine depending on the bean or I don't know what. I mean, and similarly, when something is like iced tea has caffeine in it, apparently this charged lemonade has caffeine, but the degree to which you can have caffeine in your system and have it be safe, I don't think any of us know that answer. I mean, do you know how much caffeine, you can have in your body before it creates an issue?
There's a recommended
390 milligrams. Bravo. Well done.
Somebody know that? Look at that. Yeah.
According to Panera's menu, this is on if those listening, I'll just read it. We have this up on our YouTube channel. According to the Panera menu, a large charged lemonade has 390 milligrams of caffeine, close to the FDA 400 milligram daily maximum intake.
Yeah.
Panera's 30-ounce charged lemonade also contains more caffeine than both Red Bull and Monster energy drinks combined.
Now imagine drinking 2.5 of them.
God.
So,
man, you really like your sugar and caffeine, I guess. 400
milligrams of caffeine is about the amount of caffeine in 4 cups of brewed coffee, 10 cans of cola, or 2 energy shot drinks. 400 milligrams.
Wow.
Yeah. And how much is in the Panera Bread thing?
390.
Yeah. So then you're just doubling that. And she had 2.5. So that's a lot.
Makes me pee, says SF Tesla, the caffeine. I agree. It does make me, if once you load up on water and caffeine, it's a pretty frequent punch of that ticket to the bathroom. It's true.
Last story. This performance didn't quite go as planned. The Grand Ole Opry is apologizing after singer Elle King's performance at Dolly Parton's 78th birthday tribute. It wasn't much of a tribute. King took the stage Friday night during the historic Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. King appeared drunk, used foul language, seemingly forgot the lyrics to one of Parton's songs. The Grand Ole Opry tweeting, "We deeply regret and apologize for the language that was used." King has not publicly commented on her performance. Wasn't her finest moment there.
Yeah. I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
I was looking for the apology is what I was looking for.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Yeah.
I misspoke.
Well, I think it's bigger than that.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. That is unreal. And I have to say, I love Elle King.
Oh, do you?
I really do. I think I know her, her big song, X's and O's, right? And I know her dad, Rob Schneider. And I feel bad for her, for a situation that clearly went wrong, right? I mean, I don't know. The thing about this is that it's a Dolly Parton event, and Dolly Parton is so cherished as a national treasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you really have to watch your,
A flawed human being who makes mistakes.
Okay, you do have to kind of go to that.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Poor thing. I don't know, I guess it was really embarrassing and awful and stuff, but my heart breaks for her because maybe because I know the family a little bit. But
well, I'm sure everyone there was embarrassed for her too and was thinking, "Oh my God, this is awful," right? You don't want to see someone get up on stage and completely make an ass of themselves.
No, of course.
It's horrible.
No, you do not.
Unless you're the kind of person that waits when you're watching the ice skating at the Olympics for the skaters to fall, then you're a different kind of person. But if you're looking for the greatness,
That just sounded so funny. Yeah, you're right.
This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Please drink responsibly, right? No more than the 4 cups. No more.
I'm drinking it right now. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Watch yourself and your heart. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, boy, is earned a place of recognition in this house. It is really good coffee. I have a coffee connoisseur who will speak to it. I am a tea connoisseur. I am loving it.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
I have my big Stanley cup full of tea over here. That's good. You can find a huge selection of coffees, amazing teas. It's a total treat. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And because you are a Mark Thompson Show listener, we've got 10% off for you at the checkout.
Yeah, we do.
Type in Mark T. So it's Mark T all together at the checkout. Get your 10% off, and off you go. And then the coffee and the tea arrives in the mail, and you enjoy it, and everything is good.
Yeah, get that 10% discount for sure. Mark T at checkout. It's CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. By the way, if you get a subscription to coffee, like, they have subscriptions there, you can save some money and this sort of thing. Right. You still get the discount. So make sure you put that Mark T in there for discount because it'll apply to anything you get on the website. So CoachellaValleyCoffee.com and use Mark T.
I love it at the end, the websites like this where you put the code in and you see the money come off at the bottom. Love it.
I agree. When you see it go down, the total go down, it's great. Yeah.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I come from regular stock.
There's a reason that this place is fun. Don't ever use that word.
What are the porn stars doing, Mark?
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
What you say is the political dogma that they're trying to shove down our throats.
Straight up, right in, no problem.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Cuatro años más.
I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
Say what?
Do you have a secret talent?
You get nothing.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Did you really just do that?
Yeah, we are here and appreciate your presence and participation. Speaking of which, I've got something for you, Tony, and then something for you, Kim. And in the process, this will be for everyone who is watching or listening. The first is an email.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
This is a quick email. Mark, this is from Robert. I'm not getting your notifications anymore. Now, the problem with this is I don't know if he means it's a problem. I'm not getting your notifications anymore, like urgently asking. I'm not getting your notifications anymore. Help me. Or if he's angry, like so many people who write in and go, you know, you said something I disagree with, and I'm not getting your notifications anymore. Like I'm turning your notifications off. So I don't know what is the right read on this line. I'm not getting your notifications anymore, but I thought I'd ask you, Tony, to tell me, would there be a reason for him not getting our notifications anymore?
Thanks, Tony.
From what I understand, sometimes with YouTube, even if you're subscribed with notifications, it'll just kind of unsubscribe you or unnotify you to see if you click on it again, if you really meant it.
I see.
I guess it's kind of the way to say it. It's kind of like, so just make sure that the notifications are still on, I would say. Because
so everybody
YouTube will
who
turn
has
that off for you.
Yeah, everybody who has notifications indicated that little bell on YouTube, make sure it's still engaged and make sure your subscription is still live. You know,
exactly.
Yeah, that's the way that works. So thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
The other thing I had was something in the chat. Let me find it. This is from John or Jan. When are you taking down the laundry that's behind you, Mark? What? I am a little taken aback by the question. It is true, though, Tony. I was thinking about this. Tony, you are my brother in setting up this studio. You're really the guy who's helped. And this is the Mark Thompson Show hoodie, which is, I might say, it's a jewel of the merch lineup. It really is. Like if you have the hoodie, that's a really strong. It's a very good hoodie that's embroidered. It's not like just ironed on type stuff. A lot of good workmanship goes into that hoodie.
Did you see it on David K. Johnston? I mean, it looks great.
Yeah, David K. Johnston rocks it. And this is all the stuff on the getmarkmerch.com site. So we have it behind me to remind you that all this stuff is there. It's the Mark Thompson Show embroidered hoodie. And it's pretty terrific.
There's never been anything like this.
It's close to there's never been anything like it. It's
Do
that
you
good.
wear that, or is that kind of self-serving to wear that? You're like, oh.
I
Mark
wear the
Thompson
hat
Show.
a lot
What's that?
because it's
Okay.
easy. But if you're asking, like, is it self-serving to wear your own hat or your own merch? I don't know. I mean, if you can't rock your own merch, who can? I mean,
That's
I
right.
think it's
Yeah.
sort of like, so the beanie, the pom-pom beanie, very popular for this time of year. And you can find all of this at getmarkmerch.com. But in answer to your question, John or Jan, I have the stuff up here, the tote bag. I must tell you, the tote bag and the hoodie jewels of getmarkmerch.com. There's my mom and dad wearing the beanies. So all I would say is it's a way to remind everybody that the tote bag and the hoodie's available, but maybe it's time to, sub it out for something. We had a big banner background before, but it was reflecting the light, and we
it made a mess of the camera.
Yeah, it made a mess of the camera. So, anyway, that's that. I wanted to address that, both the comment and the email. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Might I ask you, Tony, if you're ready for? I have a super quick but important gift for Kim, and it comes in Law and Disorder. Are you ready to go with that? Yes, Tony says he is ready.
Yeah.
And
thanks, Tony.
Okay, so without any further delay, here is a turbo version. How much does the rod of equity cost? How dare you, John, for asking a question like that? The rod of equity in Mercy is never for sale. The beanie looks nice and warm. Yes. Okay, we have moved on. All right, everyone, settle down. All right, Tony, please settle with the comments.
Thanks, Tony.
Let's now get to a turbo Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
You'll know why this is for Kim right away. A woman arrested after cops found $2,500 worth of Stanley cups in her car.
What?
Yes. The Stanley cups are the new rage. I did not know about them. Thank you, Heather, listener and viewer who sent me this, because we had talked about it. Kim was using a Stanley cup last week. Mm-hmm. It was almost a perfect vessel for her liquid.
It's my Coachella Valley tea is in here. Mm-hmm.
The only thing missing from that is a sticker that has the name of our show on it. That would have made it better. But yeah.
You want me to deface my Stanley cup with
just
that?
the way defaced? How dare you? Defaced? How dare you? Look at that. That is a sticker on that mug, and it's perfect. But that is the Stanley cup that Kim loves.
Yeah.
And I guess the rest of the country it's taken off.
Yeah.
It's taken off with the rest of the country as well. So how did this lady get spotted? In Placer County, northeast of Sacramento in Roseville, cops were called to a reported theft from a store on Stanford Ranch Road. Staff, this is a quote from the police report, saw a woman taking a shopping cart full of Stanley water bottles without paying for them. The suspect refused to stop for staff, stuffed her car with the stolen merchandise.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Well, once you're in the car with the stolen merchandise, you're off.
Mm-mm.
But an officer spotted the suspect vehicle as it entered Highway 65 from Galleria Boulevard, and they initiated a stop. The woman is 23 years old. She's from Sacramento. She was arrested for grand theft. The pictures released by the cops show her car, trunk, and passenger seat stuffed with a variety of Stanley cups. Look at all of those cups. Kim, this for you has to be a dreamlike image. All those Stanley cups you'd never have to repeat.
Yeah, I just, that's a lot of cups.
They've been highly sought-after items in recent months, as you know, because of a trend driven by social media influencers. And, Kim is so easily influenced by the TikTokers.
Yeah.
The Quencher Cup, as it's called, holds 40 fluid ounces, retails on the Stanley website at $45. It's become a fashionable item. And as the cop said in a Grady sheriff kind of way, the cop said...
What he's got going here is a situation.
The cop said, while Stanley Quenchers are all the rage, we strongly advise against turning to crime to fulfill your hydration habits. And that's a quote from the cop, from the top cop.
I think like Ugg boots and Birkenstocks and certain brands of purses, this whole Stanley Cup thing has really hit its peak. So I hope to see people not freaking out over it anymore.
That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
The other thing I might mention, and you know it's all the rage in the United States of guns, the return of the Crossroads of the West gun show. Yeah, it returned. It was actually stopped by court order, and then that order was overturned. It's a decades-long tradition, and it's now back because of a second. This involves assault rifles, and essentially the fairgrounds gun shows had been this tradition for many decades, and a judge overturned it. It's a ban that's been in effect for a couple of years now, but now that ban has been overturned. So it went down this past weekend, I believe. Federal judge granted a preliminary injunction overturning both the bills in the state of California that prevent people's access to guns. And again, in the judge's decision, seemed to ban all aspects of gun culture. There's the Crossroads of the West gun shows. From their website, they call it a Second Amendment victory in California. Great news. We're going to be back. The Crossroads of the West may continue. And so that's something that is up and running. The other thing happening in California is, as you know, there is a race for that Senate seat being vacated by Dianne Feinstein. And tonight, there will be a debate. Isn't that right, Kim?
Yeah, it's I believe, hosted by Politico. And it's going to be a debate, not just a party debate, but all the candidates, including the Republican candidate.
Steve Garvey.
Yeah. Right, who will be there as well. And from what I'm reading, there's two things that we should watch out for. And one is the candidate's position on water. So you'll hear a question about that tonight. The other is, and a lot of people seem to be looking at the candidates and wondering what their position on international things are, like the Israel-Hamas conflict. And so you'll probably hear a lot about that as well. And they're very different. Even the Democrats, when you come to it, with Schiff coming down on it one way, which is some say siding more with the Israelis. And then you have Lee, who's for ceasefire on both sides. No shots to be fired at all. And then there's Porter, who is maybe a little more coming down in the middle of this whole thing. So a lot of different opinions here, and it'll be interesting to see them talk about it.
It's interesting to see how Porter has burnished her image as, I think, more of a she is a publicly accessible candidate. She seems to be a populist candidate, might be another way to put it. I think her visual aids that she does with the white erase board that have gone viral have given her a certain profile. We had her on the show. And, Schiff is very strong and, leading the impeachment proceedings and all that. I mean, quite impressive. I mean, I think there are no really bad moves here, in my judgment. I think Garvey is, it doesn't matter what I think of Garvey. He's not going to be relevant in the general. Yeah. But this should be interesting. So 4 on stage for this debate tonight. And we'll have reaction highlights tomorrow. I promised you news of the Pope. And news of the Pope you shall have.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
No. The Pope made some controversial comments. The Pope is sort of trying to drag this church, the Catholic Church, into the modern age, even as he has to have, 1 foot on first base as far as keeping the religion with close ties to the doctrines, might be a way to put it. Here, the Pope is weighing in on sex.
Hello.
Tony, do you have a little bit of it? Sexual pleasure, which is a gift from God, is undermined by pornography, he says. Satisfaction without a relationship that can generate forms of addiction. We must defend love, love of the heart, of the mind, of the body. Pure love and giving oneself to each other. And that is the beauty of the sexual act, he says. So the last part is particularly interesting to sort of acknowledge. He's saying, I mean, clear implication, I mean, put the capital C on clear and capital I on implication, that now, and this is a much different position for the Catholic Church, I think, that sex is not a bad thing that's only for reproduction. That's always, that's always been the thing among married couples, right? That's between two people who are married. That was normally how you had an intimate relationship. Now the Pope's saying in those intimacies is a beauty and connection between people. That's a very different position than has historically been taken by the Catholic Church. Now, his first note was about pornography, and he was saying it debases humanity. This is, again, the implication, right? It's addictive, it debases. So the judgment that the church has, and then by extension that the Lord has on everything you do, that's a very consistent feature of many religions. Certainly Catholicism may lead that parade, right? We want you to do this, we want you to do that. The Lord doesn't let us do this, the Lord doesn't let us do that. It's not unique to Catholicism. I mean, that's the case across the board. Depending on who your Lord is or what your Lord is, that's kind of the thing. Overlooking all the time, judging all the time, you got to ask for forgiveness for this,
Yeah.
So he puts pornography in that category, but he also puts sex in that category. Essentially, if it's not between two people who are, who love each other. The beauty, though, that he speaks of is in the sexual intimacy is not something that the Catholic Church has ever acknowledged. It's a kind of a big deal. So those who are Catholic, I think
I thought it wasn't supposed to be for enjoyment or beauty at all. I thought it was supposed to be make a baby, get in, get out, get on with your life. Like,
thank you. That's
nothing to see here. No joy, no excitement, no awesomeness. Just simple baby making, and that's it.
Kim is 100% correct. That has always been the position of the church, which is why I think this is so notable, because this does depart markedly from what the church position has been historically.
Kim, how are you?
So Kim is right. The new position of the Pope is very different than has traditionally been offered by the Vatican. What's his opinion on inflatable sex dolls, asked John.
There's no beauty in that, my friend.
What?
It was not touched upon by the papal master. So that's the situation with the Catholic Church and the Pope.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Last thing before I get on with things, I wanted to mention that 2 U.S. Navy SEALs went missing after a 10-day search off Somalia. They are now saying that they have been lost. I mean, that they're giving up the search. They had a raid on a small boat off Somalia. And these were very rough seas off Somalia, and these 2 U.S. Navy SEALs were lost. They were, and they're not publicly identified because they're,
that's the boat.
Right. And that boat, I believe it was carrying, they said, Iranian advanced conventional weapons. So these SEALs were getting on this boat to take it over. The Somalia coastline includes the Gulf of Aden, and it's the Indian Ocean. Military officials who did not give the exact location of the incident said personnel from the U.S., Japan, and Spain searched more than 21,000 miles of surface looking for these two seals. So I'll just give you one other detail. One seal fell over into the water, and the other seal jumped into the water to rescue him, which is protocol. That is the way it's supposed to be. But again, one of the seals trying to board the vessel amid rough seas fell into the water. The second dived in after him, and they've both been lost. Again, after 10 days, U.S. officials are saying they are declaring both of these Navy SEALs dead. So that's it's a sad end to that. But so it goes.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to get to Karen, but I also promised you one other story. Can I do that quickly, Tony? Do I have time about the Carmel story? I think it's kind of interesting.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Very fast.
This is big news if you live in Carmel. Carmel is this lovely, again, a treasure in California. We love it there just as visitors. And Monterey, Carmel, we used to have a lot of listeners there. I don't know who is still, who followed us over to YouTube and podcast platforms since KGO folded up. But there is something special about Carmel that's related to postal delivery. And there is, and other things you'll see in that regard. There is no mail delivery. They have to go to the office, to the the post office in many parts of this wealthy. No street addresses. There you see it. They don't have street addresses, and this beautiful place, Carmel by the Sea. You've got gorgeous homes, most of which we probably couldn't afford, and yet no street addresses. They use descriptors instead of street addresses, like City Hall is on the east side of Monteverde Street between Ocean and 7th Avenues. They give their homes eccentric names like Almost Heaven, Faux Chateau, and Go Away. For more than 100 years, the people have fought to keep it that way. They threatened to secede from California if the state of California imposed some address policy on them. They want to keep their addresses off of their homes. So now that tradition running up against a lot of deliveries, right? Because you now have a society that has become very delivery intensive. Amazon, DoorDash, every Uber Eats, Uber. I mean, all of these things that are associated with needing to know an actual address, not some kind of cute down-home way to describe your residence. You need a physical address to get a real ID, to open bank accounts. And if you just moved to Carmel by the Sea, you're going to spend hours on the phone arguing that your house is real when you try to hook up utilities and the internet. So you can see this is like, really, this is old school meets new school, right? So after decades of resistance, the Carmel by the Sea City Council is now considering taking on this problem. In the coming weeks, an ad hoc committee is expected to recommend whether to formally number houses and businesses. It's more than just a convenience, said Councilwoman Karen Ferlito, a member of the ad hoc committee. The idea that this makes us unique, I don't think anybody comes to Carmel visiting because we don't have street addresses. Yes, it's a nice little story, but times have changed. This was a tiny little village with a few artists who met at the post office. It's not anymore. Plus, she said the town is not abiding by the state fire code, which requires buildings to be numbered. But finally, I just say, this truly is people who have like a death grip on the old world. In a recent Carmel Residents Association survey, 59% 59% of the people who live there say they did not want addresses, even if it meant the occasional inconvenience. They say meeting at the post office has been a way for us to hang out together. It's so special in Carmel because we're small enough that we can be a real community. We have to say, yeah, it would be more convenient, but it's one more way in which we become ordinary. So they really love how extraordinary they are, but at some point, I think you got to let it go, right? In order to get deliveries, I mean, they have to go through every kind of hoop. It is gorgeous, Carmel.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But what if you have one of those days that you just don't really want to talk to anybody?
You got
to go to the post office and deal with all your neighbors.
I'm sure there are people in bad moods down there occasionally.
You got to put on your lipstick and get all ready because you're going to see the whole community down at the post office.
Yeah. It may not be the community for you or you send somebody else. Look at these houses, though. I mean, you can drive through Carmel just to look at the houses. They're so really
everything
individual.
Looks like a Hansel and Gretel cottage.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right on the ocean. It really is beautiful.
Motor X says they have the same problem in the Rocky Mountains. I didn't know that. Sandy says, I've spent a lot of time in Carmel over the years, but I never knew this about the addresses. I always go to the main downtown area. There are addresses there. Mm-hmm. Right. Too hoity-toity for me, says Blue Spark. Blue Spark, nothing's too hoity-toity for you. It's about time you come into the toity. You can bring the toity, I'll bring the hoity, all right? That's what's happening in Carmel. Things may have to change there significantly from that standpoint.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On Mondays, we like to spend a moment talking about animals.
Now, a word about animals on the Mark Thompson Show.
She writes a newsletter about animals and animal news and the world of animals. She's Karen Dawn, everybody. The Daily Animal World News Watch is DawnWatch. So tell me, by the way, interesting note about Carmel, since we did a story about Carmel not just a moment ago. It is a dog-friendly environment.
Oh my gosh, it's one of the most dog-friendly in the country. It's funny, I moved from Santa Barbara recently, which is wonderfully dog-friendly in that it has a gorgeous dog-friendly beach, Hendry's Beach in Santa Barbara. But in Carmel, the main beach, the city beach, where, there's just nowhere in the world like that to watch the sunset, is totally dog-friendly, off-leash dogs. So, and, also, there's lots of restaurants where you can go with them, but for the main beach. So dog lovers, if you've never been to Carmel, go there and watch the sunset on the beach. Now, warning, I heard one of your folks said Carmel's a bit too shishy for them. Yeah, warning, the beach is packed with Labradoodles, Golden Doodles, and not very many rescue mugs. Like you're going to get it. And it's funny because Santa Barbara, which is also a very fancy town, the dog beaches, pit mixes, and all sorts of dogs where my guys fit right in, whereas there's a lot of doodles and whatever, and golden retrievers. But still, it is a wonderfully dog-friendly town, yeah.
That's terrific to hear. I know there really is and the leash laws vary from place to place, but it's great to have a place that at least welcomes doggies. And you can always, in many of the places in Carmel, you can see, in Monterey for that matter, you can see the dog bowls out front at the little cafes, and so you can kind of tell that it's a dog-friendly place. What else do you have for us today, Karen Dawn?
Well, I started watching the Netflix series last night, You Are What You Eat, and it's super fun. And then I opened up the papers this morning, and there in the San Francisco Chronicle, there was a big article on it. So I thought, well, let's talk about it because it doesn't go, well, I only watched the first episode last night and was just delighted by how fun it is, because this is the sort of thing that I feel like, well, I have to watch for my work. But it was just a complete delight, and I'm looking forward to the next episode tonight.
So give me a sense of what it is. I mean, I know it's very high profile, and I mean, I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So it's done by Louis
Sure, he did.
Yes.
He did The Cove, and he's an Academy Award-winning director.
He did. He won the Oscar for The Cove, which, if folks haven't seen that, it's just a fantastic movie. It's got about, a lot of people are scared to watch it because of there's, about 3 awful minutes in it where dolphins get killed. And I say, watch the show and bury your head in, your pillow or your
It's worth
your
a quick
partner's
mention
shoulder.
that this is The Cove, again, Academy Award-winning documentary, is about a cove in Japan, and dolphins are driven into the cove as an annual event. It's not just in Japan, although the cove takes place just in Japan. This tradition, if you want to call it that, this slaughter occurs elsewhere, like in the Faroe Islands, I believe, as well. There's one. But anyway.
Faroe Islands, it's whales, and in
whale, okay.
Japan, it's dolphins. But dolphins are a whale or whatever, so it's
right. They
it's
really
very
are, yeah.
similar. But yeah.
But the
it's
Cove
dolphins.
so the guy who did this terrific film, The Cove, is behind this that you're talking about. You Are What You Eat.
Yeah, and maybe even more of greater relevance is that Louis is also behind Game Changers, which is a fantastic movie about the effect of a vegan diet on athletics. And it really focuses on men, in particular, men who want lots of muscles and be big and strong, and how being plant-based can really enhance your athletic performance.
Yeah, the thing I liked about Game Changers, not to cut you off, but just to
No.
enhance what you're saying or add to what you're saying, I liked that it was about that, the myth about meat being more manly. I liked that it was really, if you're a dude, if you're a man, if you're this guy who's, gym rat, whatever it is, just see this. This movie, Game Changers, is perfect that way. It just really does turn that on its side.
Yeah, and the great thing about Louis' work is that, he really knows how to make a movie. I mean, when your documentary wins the Oscar, it's because you know how to tell a story. So, and that's the thing with the Game Changers. It's just a super, super fun movie as well.
I will just, in the service of full disclosure, I will tell you, I was a producer on the Game Changers too. So I was one of the first producers to that project. I was one of the first 5 people involved. Now, about 18 months after I got involved, you can see James Cameron got involved. That's when I thought, okay, this is going to be good. This movie is now, and now you can see all the other names: Schwarzenegger, Jackie Chan, Lewis Hamilton, Novak Djokovic, Chris Paul, the Game Changers. It's streamable. But anyway, yeah. Yeah,
I'm going to join you on a little fun sort of. I was going to say name dropping, but it's not quite that. But a little bit of like close to. But I first met Louis when I went to see The Cove maybe a decade ago, and I gave him a copy of my book, Thanking the Monkey. And next time I saw him, I was so honored to find out that he had actually read it and wanted to talk to me about vegan belts. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you might have really had an influence on him. That book, Thanking the Monkey, is terrific. We'll talk about that another time, but you really did a great. It's perfect.
We'll talk about that when we get the new edition out.
Good. Anyway, so this film done by this Academy Award-winning director.
Yeah, he is an animal advocate. But what I really like about this new Netflix show is that you don't really feel that nobody likes to be preached at. And whereas shows like, there's shows like What the Health and things like that, and they're fun and they're excellent, but they so clearly come from a advocacy perspective. Whereas I think Louis does exactly what I try to do, which is not tell other people what to do, but try to make sure that people have the information to make their own informed choices in line with their own values. And so this is what this Netflix series is doing. And what I love about it is that they take identical twins, because then you can get rid of a lot of the stuff, which might otherwise influence the outcomes, such as, blood type or this or that. And they put one twin on an omnivorous diet and the other twin on a totally vegan plant-based diet. And what's nice is they don't put the omnivorous twin on Atkins or keto or whatever the trendy diet of the day is that most doctors will say, look, they aren't really healthy. They are actually putting one of the twins on a healthful omnivorous diet, which has meat, but it also has vegetables, etc. And they're going to be comparing that twin to the twin who's on a totally plant-based diet. And as I said, I've only seen the first episode. I know enough about nutrition and have read enough to know that I think the folks on the completely plant-based diet end up performing a little bit better on various measures. But it's not like if you'd put them keto versus plant-based or something like that. But I think it's, I just wanted to mention that it's super fun.
That's
and
great.
That
I've got to check it out. I'll tell you, I got a call from a friend of mine. He's a very successful money lawyer dude, and he called me almost desperately after he saw this. I didn't even know it existed. So I said, my wife and I just watched this, what's it called again? It's called You Are What You Eat.
You Are What You Eat.
Yeah, You Are What You Eat.
And it's for the second week, it's one of the biggest shows on Netflix.
He said, my wife and I just watched this You Are What You Eat. And we want to go plant-based. We need your help right away. It was like it was as though he was in some prison somewhere and he needed me to, wire him bail money. He was desperate. So there must be something in this that makes an extremely compelling argument. You Are What You Eat, a twin experiment. It's on Netflix. Can I mention one other? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
I was going to say, I want to mention one other movie. This doesn't have anything to do with what you eat, okay? Mm-hmm. But it was by Louis Zohoyos, this same Oscar-winning director of The Cove. Racing Extinction, it's called. It's a great movie. It has nothing to do with veganism or changing your diet or anything, but it speaks to what's happening in the world and on the planet with so many species. Racing Extinction. See it, and you will be glad you did. It speaks very much to a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this show when we touch on it, but it takes it down to a granular level, and I thought there was great information, and it was a good watch. It's not too long a movie. Again, Racing Extinction. Check that out as well.
It's funny. I was about to say something, and then you said, "Oh, sorry to cut you off," whatever. But as so often, we're exactly on the same wavelength here, because I wasn't going to mention that particular movie. But what I was going to mention is that this segment is we talk about animals, and of course, here we are. We're not talking about animals. We're talking about this great new Netflix show, which is all about diet, but they are, of course, so tied up together. And that's so I just wanted to bring that home that, you and you've said clearly that you avoid eating animals because you know what they go through on factory farms and in slaughterhouses, and that's enough for you. And that's enough for me too. And if plant-based diets weren't healthier, unless it was going to kill me, I would find some way to make them work, because I just really, really care about what happens to animals. But it is a treat to see them measured against meat-eating diets and find out, of course, they're not worse for you in this. There's been a bit of a pushback against the whole vegan movement to suggest, oh, we really, really, really need meat. So it's so nice to see something saying, well, we don't. And again, I'm not telling anybody else what they should eat, but I think it's just important that people know that, no, we don't need it. And then, I sent Tony along a few photos because we went from there was a really push towards fake meat and the Beyond Burgers and stuff like that can be a lot of fun and can be delicious, but they aren't what I eat, and they aren't what lots of us eat. And I think when people look at what I eat for lunch, it doesn't look like I'm suffering. And that's why I sent some photos of when I go out to Cava and I get myself a gorgeous big hummus, avocado packed, yummy salad bowl with rice and beans and stuff like that, I just don't think I'm suffering. Or if I go to there we go. There's my cava bowl for lunch from a few days ago, and that's nobody's going to be eating that for lunch and saying, "Look how deprived I am." And, if people
the
love
taste experience
sushi-
for me as well just has broadened immensely. It's an incredible thing. I never would have thought it. I didn't.
Oh, and
I didn't care about
what-
anything except I just didn't want anything to do with animal cruelty anymore. So I wanted nothing to do with it. And I had a Cheese Jones I had a house account at a major cheese shop in Los Angeles. That's how much cheese I used to eat. I would go in, get pounds of it, and put it on my account. I'll pay for it at the end of the month. So no one can tell me that they love cheese more than I did. And I dropped it all at once when I looked into the cruelty associated with dairy. But again, what I like these conversations. There's good news. There's troubling news. There's a good Netflix series, Where You Are What You Eat. And I mentioned this Racing Extinction as well. It's nothing to do with diet or veganism or any of that stuff. You'll just really like that Racing Extinction, and it'll give you some great information. And
When
it's
you
all
start
doable.
talking about cheese, though, I have to mention that one of my favorite things, of course, about not racing extinction, about You Are What You Eat, is that Miyoko is a featured guest. And when I first
Bay Area from the North Bay. Yeah.
I'm like you with cheese, Mark. When I used to go out to fancy restaurants, when it came to dessert time, I just wanted a beautiful glass of red and a cheese plate. That's all I cared about, is a cheese plate. And when I first went vegan, we had to pretend the cheese was edible. Whereas along comes Miyoko a decade or so later. And now, if you've not had her cheeses, they're absolutely scrumptious and they're healthy. They're organic cashew-based cheeses. They're good for you. And, she's Bay Area. She's an Asian woman. And one thing about Game Changers was it was just men, 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 men. So what a joy to see Miyoko talk about her cheeses on this show. And
yeah, you can say it about Game Changers. I'll just say this: two of the athletes featured are women, so you can't just say it was men, 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 men. Game Changers.
You and I can agree to disagree on Game Changers because it's
It was targeted to men.
90%.
It was targeted to men, but the film starts. The first shot of the movie is a woman. So, anyway,
Mark,
Karen,
it's 90% men. But this one isn't.
Sir. Yeah, that's all I have to say to you. 90%. I was a producer on the film. Don't tell me about my own movie.
Why are you yelling?
All right.
You remind me.
Say
of,
goodbye to Karen.
Kip
You'll never see her
that
again on this show.
Wasn't really all men, and it was like, oh no, it's only 90%. But the
Anyway.
good news is that this one isn't.
Yeah, no, I'm half teasing. Not quite half, actually. Less than half. All right. So what I would say to you is thank you for reminding us about this. I really want to see it. Also, You Are What You Eat, and all of this other stuff that I think relates to the great work of this Luis Ahoyos, The Cove, Racing Extinction, the like. Nothing to do with eating. It just has to do with what's going on the planet with animals. So, and love your new microphone, I might say. You sound very good. You look good. You sound good. We kind of got this segment where we need it. I'm really going to miss you. All right. Thank you, Karen. Karen Dawn, everybody, from DawnWatch. That's a word about animals for today.
Join the flock. Again next time for a word about animals on the Mark Thompson Show.
Guest comes on the show. She's telling me my own movie. She sees a lot of movies.
I didn't know you had your own movie. Look at you. I thought you played the news guy in what was it? Air Force One.
Mm-hmm. Day After Tomorrow.
I didn't know you were like a big time producer. This is news to me.
I don't know how big time I was, but I was really, I believed in it. And so I went to it early to support it. And there's going to be a Game Changers sequel. But one of the reasons I wanted to be part of that film was because I felt it did target men. Men are inundated with this macho meat message. And so that's why. So it is targeted for men. Of course, it's about men in large measure because it's targeted to men. So you've got these massive, strong guys. They're all plant-based. But the idea that it neglects women, I think, is ludicrous. So it starts with a woman. There's a woman Olympic, a cyclist featured. There's a woman runner. The movie starts with her. So, but I love Karen, so she can
She
Go
can
ahead
stay.
and she can smear my work. I don't care. All right. So, Tony, what do I have to do? And Kim, what's going? Yeah.
Can I break a little news? I have a little news
Please.
break.
Yeah.
Just
All
a
right.
little. Just
Kim,
a little.
how are you?
Yeah,
The
go ahead.
Supreme Court is allowing U.S. Border Patrol agents now to remove razor wire that was put up by the Texas Republican governor's security initiative at the U.S.-Mexico border while the state's legal challenge to the practice plays out. The vote today was 5-4. The justice's order is a major victory for President Biden and what is an ongoing dispute with Texas Governor Greg Abbott over border policy. It had become pretty, stressful in the days after 3 migrants drowned in a section of the Rio Grande that state officials had blocked agents' access to, prompting the administration to further press for the high court's intervention. So that's what we know as of today. The Supreme Court is allowing the Border Patrol to take down that razor wire for the safety of the migrants.
This border situation may be the front and center issue played up by the GOP. It's why it was even discussed as something that would be used as a cudgel, essentially, against the Biden administration and against the Democrats. And Donald Trump indicated to Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, that he did not want a border deal because Johnson was indicating they might get to a border deal. They were negotiating with Biden about changes at the border, a bipartisan border deal. And Trump indicated, and then Johnson essentially regurgitated the Trump remarks, that there won't be a border deal, and that the two sides are just too far apart, whatever. But it was clear. In fact, Johnson talked about the fact that he spoke to Trump about it. So this continues to be a huge issue, and it's a legitimate issue. Yeah. It's there. In other words, it's not a phony issue. The way it's being handled is phony. Getting U.S. troops and sending them to the border. Do you remember that during the Trump administration at Christmas time? Because U.S. troops, what are they supposed to do anyway? They're not able to fire on these migrants as they come in. I mean, but there's a lot of theater and a lot of posturing. Now, the razor wire is a different issue because that's a real thing that was going on, and you've got Texas communities that feel beleaguered by this problem, and they want something done. And I might say they are fairly beleaguered by that problem. There is a tremendous issue with so many migrants coming across the border and doing it illegally. So that's a huge decision. Thank you for the update on that. And we'll talk to David Katz about it. We'll talk to David K. Johnston tomorrow. So that'll continue to be something that we get to on the show. So, bravo.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Tony, what do I have to do before we say goodbye? I have so much and so little time to do it.
Tomorrow, we're already past our limit.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay. All right.
Unless we're going past.
All right. God, no need to be so...
Just say.
Back to the Stanley Cups. I predict Stanley Cups will be on sale for $5 on eBay in a year or two. They are truly the Macarena of collectibles, a fade with no staying power. Fad, I guess that is. A fad with no staying power. That's from Luis. Yeah, I think that is... thank you for the super chat, Luis.
Big shout out.
Yeah, thank you for that. Those cups will probably be at the Dollar Tree soon. Kim, they are... What about the Mark Thompson water hydration system? That's right. The Mark Thompson water hydration system, which is there at getmarkmerch.com, is available. I'd like some refreshing H2O in an MT hydration system. Thank you, Julie. Thank you all who go to the website and show us all the love. We do love it. Tony's back tomorrow with Kim and myself.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
David K. Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize winner tomorrow as well.
Bye-bye.
After Party Live's going down now. Till tomorrow. Bye-bye.